Everyone, and welcome to the Audio Product Development Alliance. I'm Roger Shively from Shively Acoustics International, and this is the APDA, your gateway to audio product development. Today's topic is immersive designs and soundbars, and joining us today from MISCO is Dan Digre, President and CEO. Welcome back, Dan.
Thank you. Great to be here, Roger.
Yeah, and we have Mike Binn, a former ComHear Senior Vice President, now CEO of Apical Point. Is that correct, Mike? And welcome.
Yes. Yeah. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
And from ComHear, we have Jeff Clar, Chief Engineer. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you for having us on.
And in addition to them, online with me today from the APDA is Dave Lindberg from DB Enterprises and the THD Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Roger.
Dave. And we'd like to share our thanks for Steve Willenberg from LinkPlay, and our thanks to Joe Al Martins from Audio Express, who is our media partner, and Adam Levinson from Levinson Consulting. Quickly, if you don't know the APDA, the Audio Product Development Alliance is the only organization focused exclusively on audio product development education, providing current and relevant content that can be experienced in person, online, and on demand. Combined with a valuable cross-industry knowledge sharing, the APDA serves as a networking hub for the audio industry, offering access to experts and colleagues for professional development. The APDA is where we come to learn how to build better relationships and better audio products. And here we talk about design, manufacturing, measurement, simulation, supply chain, automotive applications, headphones, earphones, wireless technology, and we even touch on industry standards. And we'd like to thank also Spencer for producing us today on this live talk. We are recording this as well, so if you can't watch it all now, you can always catch up on it later on our YouTube channel. You can share it, like it, and join us often. And you can request to join the APDA to become a membership. Let me give you a chance to see how to do that. There we go. You can join us on the APDA WhatsApp group, and you can actually we'll be watching that WhatsApp group during this live talk as well. So if you leave a comment there, we'll catch up with it. And you can also request to join the APDA on the website as well. And you can send us a message if you want to also in our email, which is at apda90210@gmail.com. Just use the subject line mailbag. And we will be watching also our chat on the YouTube channel. So if you have questions, you can put them there or anywhere you like, or we'll keep an eye on our email, like I said, as well. So without any further ado, I'd like to give it, maybe to start the discussion with you, Dan, and maybe give us a little bit of background first on MISCO and how MISCO and ComHear have come together. There's a good history of ComHear that is developed some 3D algorithms in the beginning for immersive soundbars, which have now found a home with you as well, I think. So maybe you can kick us off, and like I say, Mike and Jeff, please feel free to jump in anytime. There are no rules here of order, so we can just have a nice conversation and discuss what's new and what's coming up. So I'll let you go ahead, Dan.
Okay, thanks, Roger. MISCO is a 76-year-old company. Our headquarters are in St. Paul, Minnesota. Mm-hmm. MISCO started as a speaker repair company and now is primarily an OEM speaker manufacturer. We've been doing OEM business for 40, 50 years. We manufacture here in St. Paul. I think in 2025, we built probably almost 1 million drivers. People might be surprised to know that many drivers are still being built in America. But we have a relatively new factory here in St. Paul. We built it about 5 years ago. It has increasing automation. We expect in the next couple of years or next year or so to be able to automate, have pretty state-of-the-art manufacturing for loudspeaker drivers. From a business perspective, one of the things that's unique about MISCO is that we're a very broad line OEM manufacturer. That is, as opposed to focusing on, on a particular market, pro audio, consumer home audio, car audio, something like that. We're really more of a solution provider audio company, and where we use loudspeaker drivers, drivers enclosures, electronics. We also design and make our own electronics. We do all of those things to assist our customers to implement audio into whatever their product is. So we're basically become the audio solution for whatever they're working on. And our customers range from a wide range of industries, aerospace, commercial aircraft, defense aircraft. We make the speakers that are in the Orion spacecraft, which is going to be launching to the moon here in a week or two. We make speakers for medical equipment. We make speakers for gaming devices, mass transit, Department of Defense, all kinds of things. So it really gives us an opportunity to leverage our knowledge and our capability to actually control most of the loudspeaker supply chain and signal chain through our expertise. So we build our own drivers. We can put them in enclosures that we design and build our own electronics, have our own amplification, have our own signal processing capabilities, that type of thing. So it really allows MISCO to provide a very full solution to a number of industries' audio challenges. So MISCO got connected with ComHear a couple of years ago. We were both servicing the needs of a particular company, and we started talking to each other about, okay, so you're talking to them about some 3D audio and capability, and you're mostly an IP company, not necessarily a product building company. And MISCO is primarily a product building company with all of these capabilities that I mentioned. What would happen if we started working together? Because as I'm thinking about our customers and our marketplace, a lot of the ComHear technology could solve a lot of these challenges. Whether it's creating a 3D environment, or whether it's creating directional audio solutions. All of those kinds of things are new tools in the MISCO toolbox. So I was very excited, and it's been great to work with Mike and Jeff on these products. We've done lots of demonstrations with customers. We've got lots of interest, both here in North America, and also MISCO is setting up a presence in Japan. So we've been over there providing demonstrations to customers over there. So we're really excited about kind of where we're at and what we're doing. So that's kind of how we got connected from the MISCO side, and I'll let Jeff and Mike talk a little bit about ComHear, kind of their story, and we'll meet up at where they connected with MISCO.
Yeah, that would be great. Actually, Jeff or Mike, if you want to kind of give us a little background on ComHear and what makes it a little bit, where it came from, and what makes it unique as well.
A very, very good intro. ComHear was founded technically at UCSD with a collaboration with a bunch of great investors and actually musicians. They actually came out of the School of Music, rooted with a bunch of great PhDs who were looking for a way to create algorithmic uses and beam steering with audio. So it's been a mission. I kind of came in at the tail end a little bit here, trying to build collaborations with great companies like MISCO, and Jeff's been the chief engineer and product officer for a long time. And so our goal really has been to find ways to engage consumers at the edge in various walks and various verticals. So that could be a kiosk, that could be in the gaming space, that could be a desktop soundbar solution that someone might have at their house, and then really just using the technology to create a unique kind of like immersive experience, whether that's a brand trying to communicate to a consumer, or whether it's just, you consuming your own like content that you like, whether it's a movie, whether it's a game. Um, and so that's kind of the road that we've gone down the last 2.5 years. And so we were just very fortunate to kind of meet, like Dan said, through a mutual acquaintance. And we kind of figured out, the trends are moving this way, multi-generational manufacturing company, but really a solution provider in the audio space. And so we felt that there was a good match there to be had. Obviously with tariffs and a lot of stuff going on geopolitically, it made a whole lot of sense for us to kind of align ourselves with a company that's been doing audio, basically since audio was invented, right? Um, yeah, so that's kind of us in a nutshell. We try to push the envelope here and there. We've worked with different types of signal processing and wireless connectivity, but at the end of the day, it's really about meeting consumers where they are, whether that's in this vertical or that vertical, to create an immersive experience, and then let the technology speak for itself.
Well, yeah, let's talk about the technology a little bit. The what makes it unique a little bit, maybe Jeff, you can talk about that, where it comes from and one, its origin and how you took that and made it something that was pretty significant. As far as I understood it, I think it was maybe 8 years ago when it was first kind of demonstrated at CES, or maybe in that time frame, and it was essentially to create a personal space for you to listen to in an immersive way. At least maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but that's what I knew at that time. And it was pretty innovative and unique for sure. But maybe you can explain to us a little bit of what's behind the technology and how it came about and where it's going from there, whether it's in a different vertical or not. It's just there's some basic technology there that's interesting to talk about. So maybe you can explain it to us a little bit and bring us up to speed.
Sure. Yeah. So, as Mike mentioned, it originally came out of the University of California at San Diego in one of their audio research labs, where they were doing some experimenting with some various forms of beam steering and different ways of applying that. And the initial technology they came up with uses beam steering to create a 3D effect that, we like to say it's basically creating a headphone experience without actually wearing headphones, right? So, one of the reasons you get such great positional information, obviously, when you're wearing headphones is because of the great speaker separation. And so it uses that same idea to use beam steering to beam your left and right ears to create that same sort of headphone experience. So if you take audio that is encoded, really generated for headphones, like you typically do in a video game, or almost any sort of headphone processing now that uses HRTFs and binaural encoding, we can recreate that 3D experience that you get with headphones in the same way. So it originally came from that. It also is adaptable very easily to do more of a private type of audio, or so instead of beam forming to your left and right ears, we're actually beaming specifically to a specific listener or multiple listeners, and that's all programmable. So, for example, I can sit here and I can hear the audio that's playing, but someone standing 3 feet to my right can't hear it at all. So it's got multiple uses from that standpoint, a number of different verticals, as Mike alluded to, and so at this point now, I think with this partnership with MISCO, it's been great in terms of really coming up with a unique product that is easily integratable and easily, and just as importantly, is something that we're really focusing on now, is making the content easy to create as well. Because the people producing the content for whatever space we're in, if it's a huge ordeal for them, they're not. It's going to make it a lot harder for them to adapt it. So we're really pushing ease of content creation, ease of integration. API use is simple. It's programmable at runtime, and I think our partnership with MISCO is really shown that's really working out for us so far.
Well, that's actually good background on that because it's understanding now what it is. It's actually very helpful. And you're saying you're helping with content creation as well. So you're helping people who are creating gaming audio primarily, or is it someone outside of the gaming industry that's creating that content that you're enabling? In what way are you enabling? I mean, you're just saying you're
Well,
building in your beamforming algorithms into it, or
well, yeah. So the enabling is more, I guess, it's kind of a slightly different way of thinking about it, but it's not come with a good way to describe this. It's not that much different than what they're already doing, right? So
okay,
say
all right,
you're generating content for a game. Typically, you're most game engines already have audio engines that support, say, headphone output, right? Which is
hmm
usually using HRTS and binaural encoding to create that positional information. And anything that does that will work very well with our technology. So content creators as well who are doing pre-mixed content
got it.
using various production tools will be able to do the same thing. All that stuff has usually binaural encoders, and whether you're generating code or output, say Dolby Atmos or anything like that, as long as you can get it into a format that's rendered well on headphones, it will work great with our technology.
Okay. And then when you're creating APIs, that's primarily for your playback algorithms, right? So you're putting that into a DSP somewhere or making it available as a on a DS for a DSP to access and use. And that's the process that you get into a product, integrated into a product.
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. So what you're saying when you make it more enabling creation of content is you're just giving them the abilities to say, hey, you can listen to this in another way. If you're doing it for headphones, you can see how it's going to work in a personal space without a headphone as well. Oh,
Yes, yeah, that's a much more succinct way to put it than I
So,
just.
so, so, so what we're seeing is there's several different, audio engineering and mixing platforms that already have a lot of these capabilities built into them, but they don't traditionally use that feature set. They've been, let's call it the 2D. They've been using the 2D version, but not all of them are astute in the 3D version. So we've actually collaborated with uh, a well-known Hollywood sound mixer, which I can't say on this podcast, but he helped us do a couple of things. And it was really just using mixing tools that they use in Hollywood that a lot of these companies, have in their toolbox. And so really it's us just being in the thick of things with using this technology and then kind of, and it's somewhat education, but also just kind of like showing customers that, hey, you guys have these tools, like this is how you can use them. So there's some collaboration there, but I think as a whole, the value that's created by doing that is substantial, and so it's just really just kind of educating and collaborating with companies that are realizing that there's a constant fight for consumer attention, whether it's at the 24-inch level or the the 1 foot level on devices. So the more that a company or technology can engage with somebody at, I called it, at the edge, but whether that's in gaming or whether that's at a kiosk or whether that's a soundbar in your house, we're trying to create an immersive, collaborative experience for customers.
okay. Good.
You, I've heard of similar things like this where like there's another company that uses a camera to track the user for targeting the beamforming. I guess that you're not doing that. Are you doing something else to position like one or two?
Yeah. So we actually, have, well, we got a patent in 2023, which is called the adaptive filtering. So essentially, we're using passive IoT filters and camera filters. There's been a lot of prior art in the camera world. So we really
Mhm.
focused on different types of IoT sensors to be able to, realize where people are, if there's multiple people in a scenario, and then we can do finite beaming with the technology. I think Jeff was almost getting there. But yeah, so not only immersive, but also very finite beamforming, meaning there could be multiple people in a room, there could be people walking by. And so that's part of our larger vision is how do we use other technologies um, to enhance the beamforming scenarios and be able to create some value there. So we do have a couple of patents on that. it's debated, right? Like I said, there's been so many patents filed on with using cameras and visual imaging versus using actual radar or using time, TOF sensors and stuff like that. But we've experimented with all of those over the last like 3 years, I'd say, Jeff, right? So that's a tool that's in our tool bag, but the challenge is always what is the cost? What is the application? What is the vertical? And so a lot of those things are doable, but it's not ubiquitous across industries yet. Yet, I'd
Right.
say.
And so our
Okay.
idea behind that as well, if I can jump in real quick, is
Yeah, please. Yeah.
I'm big on modular design, right? So our API that I mentioned earlier, part of that API is being able to tell the system where you want the audio to go, right? So if say I'm sitting here, or if I move over to here, or whatever, the you can send that information to our algorithm. It'll recalculate what it needs to do on the fly and reroute the audio. So where we get that positional information is kind of irrelevant to us from that standpoint, right? Where there's a camera or whatever else you're using to get that, that can be sort of an added on part of the system to just that would then just transfer that into, okay, the person's now 30 degrees off center and they're 5 feet back, and we can reroute the audio that way.
Okay.
So we are working on that. Yes, it's not integrated fully into the product.
Okay. And that you said real time. Um, there's some latency, I'm sure, but it's realistically close enough to real time. So when someone moves, you can see that they've moved, and then you can adjust your audio to them if that's where you're targeting. Is what you're saying, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And yes, yeah, obviously there's a little bit of latency. It's less than typically about a half a second.
Okay, that's good to know. So that makes sense. I mean, then there is this challenge. What vertical is the one that you should be in is the question I'm sure is on your mind a lot. Where do you put your effort? Dan, have you guys been involved with trying to figure out what that strategy is?
Well, a lot of times the application or the vertical comes to us, right? Because I mean, we may already be there, and because MISCO is in so many different markets, it's easy for us to start a conversation about here's a capability that we have. Here's what the technology is capable of doing. We have the ability to build our own drivers, control everything in that, which means that we can now offer a customer a completely customized solution to what they're doing. It's not that they say, hey, I've got a soundbar and it does this thing, I'm going to try to utilize it. It's like, well, let us create that thing for you. And as long as it's a commercially viable project, that's kind of what we're bringing to the marketplace between what MISCO is capable of doing or ComHear is capable of doing, is we're capable of bringing this technology into customizable solutions. So, and sometimes it's interesting because I did a demo for a company and I thought they would be most interested in the 3D. And they were really impressed with it. They thought it was amazing. They thought it was great. But once I started talking to them about directional, that's what caught their attention. It's like, so just as Jeff described, we could start to privatize. There's lots of applications where audio, it has some need to be privatized. Like there's some kind of a consumer interaction with a kiosk or something like that. And you want that to be private. Well, okay, the product probably, the customer's thing probably already exists. And so what they want us to do now is, great, can you create private audio for this thing? Here's how much space you've got, here's how much power you've got, all of those things. And we can take all of that and then design a product around that solves their challenge. So I think this is what hasn't been available before, is this integrated, adaptable approach to 3D directional audio before. And so I think that's what's really exciting about the ComHear MISCO collaboration, is bringing all of that together to service the needs of the market.
Okay. And that's a question then too, is okay, Previously, so you're talking about business to business type of relationships that you've been helping bring together because, like you say, people come in and you're offering, a scenario, but they say, "Oh, I see something else," and that's where MISCO not only the expertise in the manufacturing and the integration that you have, plus test, of course, um, you the relationship between that and ComHear is this found of technology and intellectual property, and then you're trying to find the place to put it. And as people come in to see what you've got, you can find the best
I
best
I
mark.
I can hop in there. I
Yeah.
think that the market has traditionally been mostly focused on the consumer electronic market, right? So you
Yeah.
had the big players, driving most of the soundbar market. MISCO traditionally hasn't really been playing in that market per se. They have the capabilities, of course, but they find, higher value, maybe less volume opportunities across multiple industries, like from aerospace to aeronautics to, casino gaming to what have you. And so I think that those customers are looking for unique solutions, and they have the capabilities of bringing solutions to that market. Um, if you try to design something for everybody, it's really hard to bring it to market. And then you mentioned supply chain earlier in your intro, like that becomes an issue, right? So they've kind of managed to figure out, an aggressive supply chain integration as well as being a solution provider for different multiple industries. So that's really kind of like the secret sauce in my mind on why this is working.
Okay. So
And
Because if
you
we're
go
trying
just
go
to,
ahead, Dan. Yeah, I was going to
just
say,
be
Dan,
another
go ahead.
soundbar, what have you.
Yeah.
right, and just to kind of build on that, so let me give you another example. This technology, so we go to a customer and they, and I can demo for them let's say I've got 10 speakers in a bar, right? I've got
Hmm.
10, and these are relatively small speakers, and we can custom design the driver for exactly the right size, exactly, all of the attributes we want it to have. And the customer could say, hey, you know what? That's great. I love it, but I've only got room for 6, or I've only got room for 8, or, I've only got room for 4. What can you do? Well, so here's the beauty of their technology is I can call up Jeff and say, hey, Jeff, here's the situation. Here's the space we have available. We've got different drivers. What can you come up with for an algorithm to do that? And then he comes back and says, here you go, right? Here's a solution that does that. So his technology is also very, very scalable in that. Now, do you get a different effect if you've got 12 speakers than if you've got 4 speakers? Yes, of course, there's a different effect. But the question is always to the customer, is that enough? And for a lot of customers, it's like, oh yeah, that exactly does it. So that's also now another tool in our toolbox is scalability of size, effect, and of course that comes down to cost, right? Because maybe you're only doing a few speakers, you've only got you've got less channels in your amplifier, that type of thing. So that's a pretty potent solution to offer to a customer, and it definitely expands the universe of applications and customers, since you're not just coming in with a traditional consumer, here's your soundbar solution, right?
So that makes perfect sense. I mean, the adaptability is, I think, key in this in terms of application for sure. And then just walk me through your vision of this. Then, Dan, is like who is your target? Is it everyone that we've just talked about? Is kiosk type things, or if there's military application, or there's gaming applications, and or just a consumer listening to something on their desktop even, and don't want to be disturbed by somebody else's desktop setup. I mean, where is your vision of how you're approaching this?
Well, I would say yes to all of those that are,
Okay, all right.
uh, there is Mike accurately said that MISCO has not traditionally been a consumer facing product.
Right.
But there's a lot of there's a lot of changes in what's happening right now. There's more content available to a consumer, and and not all consumers want to spend the whole day with headphones, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we're interested in finding niches where we can scale this that really addresses a certain market segment where we can focus on this. But you take a combination of the this technology, this partnership, and the changes or the availability of these type of 3D binaural encoded files that are out there, Apple, Atmos, all this stuff is out there now. It really creates a compelling opportunity for what we're doing.
So your relationship with ComHear is in terms of marketing as well. It sounds like it's primarily the marketing side of that as well, in addition to the manufacturing and the integration. You are leading the marketing on this, or is it a team between you and ComHear working together out in the field, or is it primarily you leading the edge and bringing this technology to those?
It's been both, right? Because I mean, obviously we've got hundreds and hundreds of customers,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
we've got an immediate target market. But ComHear, ComHear, it was around a long time before they met MISCO, and they have
Right.
existing relationships and they have existing
Okay, good.
products and things like that. So it can go both ways, right? It can go them coming to us and saying, "Hey, we've got a customer that we work with who now wants to do this, and now we can customize a solution for them."
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. What's out there now and what just came out and what else is coming? I mean, what is in the market at the moment that some of us may or may not even know about? And what's something that's recently come out through your relationship? Can we talk about that at all? What's out there right now?
We will be able to talk about some of that
Okay,
later
all
this
right.
year,
Okay, all
because
right.
because we'll have some product in the field that a year from now we can talk about it and
Okay, good.
you
All
can
right.
experience it. But I mean, ComHear's got some product out in the marketplace, and I don't know, Jeff and Mike, if there's anything there you want to talk about.
Yeah, we do have a legacy customer. We're currently working on it that has a small smart store about the size of a vending machine, but it's a fully autonomous smart store using sensor fusion and AI. And we've distributed now with a couple of the largest fast food chains as well as the fastest growing health, you want to call it gym, I guess, or health center in the world. So, and what we're finding there is what I alluded to earlier is that there is an appetite for brands to be able to perpetuate their brand equity direct to the consumer in edge scenarios. So whether that's at retail, whether that's at some type of like frictionless retail kiosk, even like we're seeing some banks and finance leaning back into it because, they there's not many opportunities to have and to hold someone's attention. So that's why, we do like the gaming, industry because it's very content driven the last 5 years, whether it's the NFL or whether it's, Dune, the biggest movie that comes out, Wheel of Fortune, right? I mean, all this content is driving consumer engagement. So we think that our technology is poised to be able to create some solutions in those different types of verticals. But at the end of the day, we've specifically positioned ourselves to be a partner of builders, not necessarily doing it ourselves, right? And so that's why this collaboration we have with MISCO has been so valuable.
Well, that makes sense perfectly. Dave, did you have any question that you wanted to ask there for?
Sure. Maybe we can help people speculate. So the ideal customer is perhaps like a kiosk system where you have an ISO on a particular patron that's coming up to the kiosk and you want them to hear what they need to hear and not to anyone else. So anybody building kiosks or gaming terminals for casino or anything with that kind of ISO situation is kind of an ideal customer. Would you have any other kind of metaphorical customers that you would describe in parallel industries? And does this go into automotive, where you have somebody in a certain entertainment system in the car that they only want to hear this? Does it go that far with isolation, or where does it? Where is it like just instructional stuff that we're going to block out from everyone else hearing, or how tight does it get? How tight of a bubble are we putting
So
them in?
so what I can say is we have a couple of skunk work projects, I'll call it. We have some deep threaded IP that's in that space. Automotive is just a whole different animal. And so we'll see how that goes over time. But we can do that to a degree, but we're just not we're just trying to say we're trying to stay super lean right now, and we're trying to stay focused on our current objectives and just kind of conquer the opportunities that we're seeing right now or for the next 12 to 18 months. If that expands into like automotive or other types of like really finite beam steering, we have IP around that. But it means us, obviously reinvesting a whole lot more and kind of layering on a bunch of burn into our strategy right now, and we're kind of laser focused on just launching the products that we're doing right now. But yeah, I mean, we have those tools in the toolbox, but we're kind of keeping it under wraps for now.
Okay. I have a sort of a back on the technical side, a question for Jeff, I think. There's been a lot of activity in 3D audio over the years here recently. So what is it that you may want to highlight for ComHear that is very specific, for ComHear's IP that is sort of differentiates you from other people in this space? Um, is there anything that you can say, this is what's making us a little bit unique in that environment?
I would probably say what's already been alluded to already is two things. Is one is the uh, programmability and flexibility of the technology, of being able to steer it different directions, being able to use it for different things, whether it's 3D, whether it's private audio, multiple listeners at the same time, all that sort of thing. Um, and also what Dan alluded to was, which is I think the actual architecture of the system is extremely flexible. So I mean, ideally we have a 12 to 16 channel linear array of speakers, right? Which is great and sounds fantastic. But like Dan said, a lot of customers can't do that, right? They don't have room in their cabinets. They don't want to spend that much money on that many speakers or whatever it is. It's extremely flexible in terms of how you position these speakers, and we can customize it fairly well to get what I think a lot of people find is kind of like a surprisingly good effect with it, whether it's smaller speakers spaced in kind of unorthodox locations, shall we say. And so I think we provide a flexibility that I haven't seen in similar products.
Okay. I guess the one question was, is it, I mean, there's one out there, I think like Princeton University has their Bach 3D. Is it very similar to that, or how different is it from that? Is it purely that your ability to make it customizable that differentiates from something such as that? Or is that
Um, I,
apples and
I
oranges? I don't
I
know.
think I'd have to say I don't want to speak to their product because I'm not 100% confident in terms of like what they can and can't do. So I don't want to
Okay.
say necessarily that it's like, yeah, we can do this and they can't. And so,
Okay.
I don't want to say that, but I know that
Well,
we can do that. And
so essentially the
that's,
technology that they're offering is, crosstalk canceling, and that's what a lot of folks are doing, period. Beyond that, you're saying it's not only the crosstalk canceling, it's the ability to do it with whatever your architecture you're looking for and placing it in space more accurately or more fine-tuned. And that I think maybe is the differentiator I'm hearing between something, a traditional crosstalk cancellation
yeah, I
versus
think so.
doing more, I think. Okay.
Right. And the generation of how each speaker is driven, I think, is kind of a unique approach that I think does lead to a better effect.
Okay. Well, that's
And,
good.
and I'd also say that the industry in this space has been it's been driven by DSP capabilities and SoC capabilities. The one thing that our technology and the architecture is very, very low memory and low MIPS, which means that we're able to run our technology on, different chipsets that are traditionally not built for that type of solution. Usually you need like a more high power DSP or SoC, and we can run on low power, more commodity based types of solutions, which allows us to enter markets that some of these other technologies that um, I can't claim that they're stepping on some of our IP. They may not be, but I think that's a differentiator. It can scale. We can run on things that are lower cost, lower power, lower memory, and so I think that that's a real differentiator.
That's important to know too, because that's the next question is how much power do I need to get, memory power and processing power do I need to get what I need out of it, the effect. Clearly, well, I'll just say in general, more is probably better, but you're able to do it with a very simple and affordable and I guess low power way of doing it. And that's makes it very
Yeah,
unique. Yeah.
that was going to be my next question. Yeah, with a casino gaming thing, you might have a bit of processing power, but perhaps a doorbell might be kind of tight.
Yeah, so
So,
we have a few different versions, that give different levels of processing, right? So there's the very low MIPS, low memory one, that's not as programmable, like I said, as programmable. It's not programmable on the fly so much. You can't say, oh, the person's walking, you want to track them going across. It doesn't do that. It just has a set of predefined configurations that you can use, and obviously every additional configuration you use requires more memory, right? But not a lot. It's not a, it's pretty, it's surprisingly low, I think, and the MIPS requirement is very low as well. So, in fact, it's and then that goes all the way up to regenerating everything on the fly, which requires substantially more, several hundred. Probably, a CPU that's running at several hundred megahertz at the very least, and substantially more memory. Whereas our simplest version runs on a very low end, not even a DSP. It's just a microcontroller of some sort that can do floating point. Basically, it's about all you need.
Okay. No, that's actually it's a very powerful thing to be able to do. Honestly, if you can do it in any scenario, it means that you probably have a lot of interesting things coming up in the next year, which you can't talk about yet. So, um, did you have another question, Dave? Because I was gonna look
no,
and see if you have some from them.
no.
Okay. So Dan, you hear that you have this capability and you're looking for the flexibility and integration into product, and that's basically where things are happening for you. So inside of MISCO, you are integrating their ideas, or what oh, there you are. Can you hear me, Dan?
Right. My auto lights.
Okay.
I got to move around a little bit, right?
No,
Sorry,
that's okay. No,
sorry to
that's okay.
interrupt you, Roger.
No, you're good. I was going to say on the MISCO side of things, you're building product, but you're also on the electronic side or the DSP side. Are you integrating and helping with that as well, or is that something that's coming in from a third party or through ComHear, or and then you just apply it to a board? What
Yeah,
is your?
no, I mean, a big part of MISCO's business for the last 10 to 15 years have been these complete audio solutions of
Yeah,
including amplification and DSP.
right.
And so, that we do all of that stuff here in Minnesota, right? So we've got, our manufacturing of most of our high volume manufacturing is done elsewhere in the world, but
Hmm.
design work is done here, prototyping is all done here. So we've got all these capabilities. We can spin up a board in a few days and try something out. So that's kind of where this whole idea of saying like, hey Jeff, here's what we've got for space, and Jeff says, well, can you spin up a board that does this and this and this and all that? And so we've got, we already know what chips we're going to use.
I was going to
We
say,
know what power we're going to use, so we can pop this together and and within a relatively short time, we can create a full prototype system. So having all of this capability kind of in our group here is is pretty fantastic. It allows us both flexibility and it also allows us quite a bit of speed, coming to a solution quickly.
Well, and I think from my point of view, knowing that more about MISCO, that opens a new world for MISCO that I don't think everyone was aware that you had. So that's actually very good to know about. And because this is a great opportunity to take something that is unique and apply it, but to have that in-house capability is pretty special right now. And so you can pick up any chipset or any SOS that you need or SOC, and you can sort of integrate it without too much difficulty and make a prototype. That's actually very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all can be done quickly. This facility here in St. Paul, it's a design facility. It's a prototype facility. We have a full Clipple laboratory here for doing
Test it.
everything we need to do there. We've got manufacturing capability here, so it's a pretty turnkey operation. And and working with Mike and Jeff on this stuff, it fits right in with that capability. So it's a way to bring this technology to more applications and to more people.
Okay, so here's another question. If I've got an idea, who do I need to talk to? ComHear, I don't think has a web page, right? So do I talk to you, Dan? How do I get involved with ComHear?
Well, if it's a system, like, hey, we want to try something like that, you get a hold of me. Get a hold of Digre at miscospeakers.com or sales@miscospeakers.com, and we'll get going. Right. And then, and we bring in Mike and Jeff, kind of as we need to in a project, and depending upon exactly the needs for it.
And if someone is working with not MISCO, how do they work together? Is that okay if they're trying to work with they're currently working with another manufacturer? It's like, okay, how do I get this technology there? But is MISCO still involved in that part of it as well, or how does that work out?
And we have a bunch of like you said, ComHear's ComHear's been at this a while. We've definitely prioritized our relationship with MISCO. Things that are kind of out of the scope that we would like to do collectively with MISCO, more like on the consumer electronics side of things, stuff that's just like, there's some relationships out there, but I mean, for the most part, like we're trying to stay focused on the opportunities we have at hand.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of value in that, and I think the market is growing. The consumer electronics space, especially for soundbars over the last like 5 or 6 years, has been kind of a bloodbath. So I don't think we have a lot of appetite to start working with other OEMs out of Taiwan or China. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We think we have a lot of value right now with what we're doing.
That's good. No, that's kind of what I was headed to. It's like maybe you have another manufacturer you're working with, but you're going to find a better compatible relationship here with MISCO and ComHear, especially with the experience that is in the background with not just ComHear, but with MISCO's legendary background. So I think it's important to say.
And Roger, if I could just add one thing, and that is a reason somebody might say, well, I'd like to work with, somewhere else or something like that, is because they've got Asian manufacturing. Well,
Yeah.
MISCO does as well. So all of these soundbars, electronics, all of that can be made in Asia for delivery to Asia. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we're expanding our presence over there, not just our supply chain, but also our sales efforts. So that we can take advantage of opportunities that might be there and need local, manufacturing over in Asia.
Yeah, and I think that's mostly it too. I mean, there may be, I don't know, R&D or technology capability in Asia, but some of these ideas don't come from there or aren't robust enough from there. So working with this group here, maybe in the U.S. or in my experience working with groups in Europe, but we're going to manufacture in Asia because that's where we can, get the best, benefit. We're still going to be working with where the technology is held and understood and can be very rapidly deployed. And that I think that's a smart thing to talk about because, yeah, you gotta deal with the scale that you need in manufacturing and that, and also where it's going to be in the world. But you've got a core technology here in a group that can really enable that pretty quickly. I think that's good to know.
And that's oftentimes in projects, we'll start off with all the R&D, prototyping, testing, everything like that happening here. But if
Yeah.
it's a large enough project, we'll transition all the manufacturing to an Asian supplier
Yeah.
and handle it from there as well.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes the front end goes much quicker when you're not trying to throw it across an ocean half the time. Get it done. So that's pretty good. Uh, any last questions, Dave? Because we're coming up to the end here, but maybe we
No, but I would just say, avoiding consumer electronics things is, in my opinion, is advisable. The people, even like the install market or any custom solution is such a nicer chunk of business to work on. So that's my takeaway.
Okay. Well, good. Thank you, guys. Like I was going to ask you what's coming up, but you've already told us something's coming, but we have to wait. So, Dan, where are you headed next? You have a future trade show you're going to head to that you can maybe be found at, and maybe you can have someone come and talk to you about more things that
Yeah,
are.
probably. I think the next thing that I'm going to be at, we're going to be at, is probably Infocom in June.
Okay.
Um, I've been traveling a lot. I spent a month in Asia right before Christmas, and I was in Europe in Barcelona recently. So I'm actually kind of glad to not be going anywhere for a little while, but we'll be heading back to Japan shortly in the spring, and then we'll be in Infocom in June.
Okay, good. All right. All right, thanks. And it was great to see you guys. Thanks. I appreciate that, Jeff and Mike and Dan and Dave. A good conversation. Before we wrap up, I'm going to, keep an eye on the APDA. We're going to keep doing this, and we'll have some new topics coming up very soon. And if you're interested in joining us, then please do. We are looking for members and sponsors. We do depend on the support of our members and sponsors. We are a nonprofit, so please join us and encourage us, and we can keep on going. Thanks again for everyone who was able to join us online, and for Dan and Mike and Jeff and Dave. Thank you very much, and have a good one out there. Take care.
Okay.